Saladin. As a minister in Egypt, Saladin, whose full name was Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyubid, is best known for his military campaigns against the Crusaders and for the liberation of Jerusalem in 1187. However, his path to becoming the legendary figure we know today was shaped by his time as a minister and military leader in Egypt. Saladin's early life and rise to power. Saladin was born in 1137 in Tikrit, which is in modern-day Iraq. He came from a Kurdish family that had served as soldiers and administrators. His family's military background meant that Saladin was introduced to the world of warfare and leadership from a young age. Saladin initially served in the court of Nur ad-Din Zangi, the powerful ruler of Syria who had been a staunch opponent of the Crusaders. Saladin's rise to prominence began when he was appointed to serve under Nur ad-Din in Syria, where he proved himself to be a talented and capable leader. However, Saladin's most significant opportunity came when he was sent to Egypt in 1169. At this time, Egypt was ruled by the Fatimid Caliphate, a Shia Muslim dynasty that was increasingly weak and divided. The Crusaders were also a constant threat, and the Egyptian regime was struggling to maintain control over the region. Minister of Egypt. A turning point in 1169. Nur ad-Din Zangi, Saladin's master and uncle, sent him to Egypt to serve as a military advisor to the Fatimid Caliph. At the time, Egypt was in a state of chaos, with weak rulers, internal divisions, and constant threats from Crusader forces. Saladin was appointed as the vizier minister of the Fatimid Caliphate. This was a pivotal moment in Saladin's career, as his role as vizier gave him significant political power, allowing him to influence decisions and control military strategy. His position in Egypt was complicated because the Fatimid Caliphate was on its last legs, and Egypt was divided between Shia Muslims who supported the Fatimid caliphs and Sunni Muslims who were increasingly loyal to Saladin and Nur ad-Din. Saladin's military experience, combined with his strategic vision, allowed him to quickly gain the trust of Egypt's military commanders. More importantly, he used his position to shift Egypt's allegiance from the weakening Fatimids to the broader Sunni Muslim world, aligning Egypt with the Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad. The fall of the Fatimids and Saladin's consolidation of power in 1171. Saladin took decisive action to end the Fatimid dynasty's control over Egypt. As a Sunni Muslim, Saladin was committed to restoring Sunni Islam to Egypt, which had been under the Shia Fatimids for centuries. He abolished the Fatimid Caliphate, and Oladid, the last Fatimid Caliph, was murdered under suspicious circumstances, possibly orchestrated by Saladin's forces. Following the collapse of the Fatimids, Saladin declared his loyalty to the Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad and became the Sultan of Egypt. His rise to power was not instantaneous, but rather a carefully calculated move. He worked to consolidate his authority over Egypt and reorganized its government and military structure. Saladin's reforms included reorganizing the army and making it more professional, improving the economy by stabilizing trade and agricultural output, restoring Sunni Islam as the dominant religious sect in Egypt, and strengthening the position of the Abbasid Caliphate. Saladin's vision for Egypt and the Muslim world as Sultan of Egypt. Saladin aimed to create a unified Muslim front to fight against the Crusaders. Egypt, under the Fatimids, had been somewhat disconnected from the broader Muslim world due to its Shia orientation, but Saladin sought to change that by aligning Egypt with the Sunni Muslim majority and strengthening ties with other Sunni rulers. Saladin's time in Egypt also allowed him to establish himself as a leader who was both a military commander and a statesman, capable of leading through diplomacy as well as force. His success in Egypt gave him the resources, both in terms of military power and political influence, to challenge the Crusaders. Saladin's later years. In the years following his consolidation of power in Egypt, Saladin turned his attention to uniting the various Muslim territories in Syria and Iraq under his banner. After the death of Nur ad-Din in 1174, Saladin became the de facto ruler of Syria and Iraq, eventually uniting nearly all the Muslim lands from Egypt to Syria under his rule. This unity allowed Saladin to focus his efforts on the Crusader states, especially the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which had been a constant source of conflict between Christians and Muslims in the Holy Land. Saladin's ultimate victory was the recapture of Jerusalem in 1187, a feat that made him a legendary figure in both the Muslim and Christian worlds. Saladin's legacy as a minister. Saladin's time as a minister in Egypt was the foundation of his later successes. His leadership and strategic thinking transformed Egypt from a fractured and weakened state into a unified Muslim power. His reforms helped create a strong military, and his diplomatic skills allowed him to forge alliances that were crucial in his campaigns against the Crusaders. More importantly, Saladin's role as the vizier of Egypt marked the beginning of his rise to power, and it shaped his vision for the future of the Muslim world. By aligning Egypt with the broader Sunni Muslim world and focusing on military strength and unity, he set the stage for the Muslim resurgence that culminated in his successful campaigns against the Crusaders and his famous conquest of Jerusalem. Saladin is remembered not only for his military genius, but also for his wisdom and justice. His leadership in Egypt demonstrated his ability to govern with a balance of strength and compassion, qualities that earned him respect from both allies and enemies. In conclusion, Saladin's appointment as vizier in Egypt was the turning point that launched his rise to power and laid the groundwork for his future conquests. His time in Egypt gave him the platform to unite the Muslim world and challenge the Crusaders, ultimately leading to the reclaiming of Jerusalem and his lasting legacy as one of history's greatest leaders. Would you like to explore more about Saladin's other achievements or his time in the Crusades?